The story of the Clyde Dam begins not with a dam, but a dangle and a physics lesson. Now let me explain.
Excuse me, Carl. You're probably wondering why I'm done up like this. Well, have you heard of things called potential and kinetic energy? Well, if you're like me, you've probably heard of them, but you're just not too sure what they are or how they're produced. Well, let me tell you about it.
Up on the bridge with 60 metres between me and the water, what am I? Well, apart from being scared, I'm all potential or stored energy. That's what I am. But all that's going to change when I step off the bridge, which I'm about to do right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Hold it right there. See, I'm losing potential energy as I fall and rapidly gaining kinetic energy, which is about to be transferred into that big rubber band. Whoa! And stop it right there. Now, at full stretch, all my kinetic or moving energy has become stored or potential energy in the bungee cord. And this is where the fun starts. Going up! And I'm all kinetic again. Hey, I did it! And you know, everyone falling from AJ Hackett's bungee cords is putting heaps of kinetic energy to work. It's hard to imagine, but huge canyons like this one here at Skipper's were created by the kinetic energy of water working away over millions of years, wearing the rocks down. Woohoo! Fantastic, guys. But you know, us humans know a thing or two about the kinetic energy of water, and we can make it work for us too. We make water work for us by damming rivers and making electricity. And dams don't get much bigger than this one, the Clyde Dam. Nearly half a kilometre long, 60 metres above me, and unbelievably, about 40 metres below me that you can't even see. About 1 million cubic metres of concrete. That's a lot of concrete, it's a lot of money, and a lot of controversy too. And a lot of time. It took them 15 years to complete this project. It all started in 1977. Now, what else happened that year? Oh, yes, the Beehive opened for political business. Goodness me. Not much to see here, though. All the work was going on underground. 6 years later, in 1983, and they were still digging out the foundations on one side, but they were making real progress on the other. By 1985, it was at last starting to look like a dam. It was up to the top on the right-hand side. You know, they could pour over 100 cubic metres per hour of concrete. That's pretty hot stuff, you know. And I tell you what, it gets pretty hot here in summer, well into the 30s. Most summer days, they mixed flaked ice in the concrete, and in winter, it gets so cold they had to warm it up. In 1987, construction was moving ahead at a tremendous rate. 1,000 workers were on site and the penstocks were put in place. It was nearly there. You beauty! We made it! We made it! And so did the dam makers in 1989. That was 3 years ago, and still the dam hasn't been filled. But that's all about to change. You know, there's a lot to see before all this valley is covered in water and the lake is formed. So let's do it. Some of the world's best apricots were growing down there, and at the end of the gorge is the town of Cromwell, relocated to a new site above where the lake will be. The old town at the confluence of the Kawerau and Clutha rivers grew up with the discovery of gold. The waters of the mighty Clutha brought much gold and many gold miners to the Cromwell Gorge. For a time, great dredgers worked the river bottom. There's a lot of history going under Lake Dunstan. Moa hunters, greenstone seekers and gold miners all passed this way, but all is not lost because other miners began work here not so long ago. They were archaeologists and their diggings uncovered a rich treasure of those earlier travellers and miners. These objects are now stored for research in the future. Well, the archaeologists have finished, the dam's finished, so why can't the kids of Cromwell catch a fish off their brand new jetty? I mean, where's the lake? Well, the reason for the delay is that the gorge has a number of fault lines and old landslides that could threaten the stability of the hillsides above Lake Dunstan. How do you make the lake, the dam and the hillsides as safe as they can be? To do this, they've built a series of tunnels, sort of like this here, all along the gorge, with a series of drainage pipes coming out in all different directions. I'll show you. These tunnels go hundreds of metres into the hillside, and all along them, small drainage pipes are being drilled to pick up as much groundwater as they can. The water then flows out of the tunnel. This will relieve any water pressure and so prevent slips that may slide into the dam.
Hey guys, how far are we out now? 180 metres.
Well, the job's about finished, but there's still a lot of water in those hills. Water? Oh, that reminds me, I'm late. Oh gosh, I didn't want to miss this. The biggest moment in the 15-year construction history of the Clyde Dam. Mr. David Fryer, head of production for ECNZ, pulled the lever to slowly lower the last of 4 gates and begin the filling of Lake Dunstan. The Clutha has the greatest volume of water of any river in New Zealand, so old landmarks soon disappear. The bugs and beetles scurry for higher ground. They'd better, or they'll need 60-metre snorkels, because that's the depth of Lake Dunstan. I know. Let's have a look and see how the Clyde Dam will work. A last dry run, so to speak. When Lake Dunstan is filled and the water is raised to the top of the dam, its potential energy will be raised too. Just like me when I was about to bungee off the bridge. It'll wash through the intake gates into these penstocks, building up incredible kinetic energy! The water rushes into the scroll cage, which is like a giant snail shell. As the roof gets lower and lower, the water gets squeezed and squeezed, put under more pressure, making more kinetic energy. The water gives up its energy to spin the turbines in here, and they whiz round at about 120 times a minute. The 4 turbines at Clyde are connected by shafts to Hitachi generators. Together, they will produce more than 400 megawatts. That's enough to power Christchurch and Hamilton together. But that doesn't actually show you how electricity is produced, does it? Well, it's quite simple. I'll show you. Generators have 2 main parts, a rotor that spins and a stator on the outside with many coils of wire. On the spinning rotor, there are 24 very powerful magnets. All magnets have magnetic fields, and this means they can make electricity. All you do is bring a loop of wire close to the magnet and bingo! You don't believe me? Oh, well, I'll prove it. He said, here we are. I've got a magnet and I've got some wire. I pass the magnet close to the wire and I get electricity. Loop the wire and there's twice the electricity. At Clyde, the 24 big magnets on each rotor are pushed by the water and speed past thousands and thousands of coils of wire. And that's how they make some pretty serious electricity here at Clyde. Pretty simple, eh? Well, that's about it. All we have to do now is wait for the dam to fill. It's a bit slow though, isn't it? Perhaps we could speed it up a bit. In real time, this takes quite a while. First, water must be kept flowing down the Clutha at all times, and the lake is held at 3/4 full for close to a year to allow the surrounding hills to stabilise with the new lake. Yeah, all finished. I do hope the dam's safe, because you know it's got a big gap in it. No, I was just joking. The gap is actually a design feature which makes the Clyde Dam the most earthquake-proof dam in New Zealand. The Clyde Dam is actually 2 dams with a wedge plate stuck in between to keep it watertight. Now imagine I'm the water pushing on the wedge to keep the wedge in place. Now if the earth moves, the dam moves too, and the wedge plate will adjust its position to suit. The dam is built to withstand 200 centimetres of the Earth's movement. That's 10 times what geologists predict could ever happen. So, in the unlikely event of a devastating earthquake, Clyde will stand firm. So now it's all go here at Clyde, putting electricity into the national grid. You're bound to use quite a lot of it. In New Zealand, although we're rather good at making electricity from water, hydro generation has its costs, and let's not forget the impact the Clyde Dam has had on people and the environment. But apart from becoming more energy efficient, we really have few other options. Nuclear is very doubtful, and coal is limited. Solar, wind and tide power, well, their time is coming, and like water, they are renewable forms of energy. The good thing about hydro and dams like Clyde is that they merely borrow the kinetic energy of the water to make electricity, and then they give it back to all of us to enjoy. Roll on, mighty Clutha, from the mountains to the sea. All together now, la 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 la. Make power for you.